Hey, my name is Keith Dickerson, and I'm a full-time instructional designer and multimedia content creator. I work with a lot of companies and clients that want interactive educational tools, and I obviously utilize Articulate 360. And today I wanted to show you how I actually build very simple, basic photo slideshows that I can incorporate into these interactives to help learners with their topics. All right, so we're going to get started here with doing our own customizable slideshow here in Articulate. This is obviously a great thing to do if you're doing any kind of learning module with your students. It'll be a separate slide or page that they can navigate to, and you can include, as many photos and images and things like that as you want to help, build up all the learning material that you're trying to get to them. We're going to start here on a blank slide. And anytime I work with a client, I always want to try to match their colors, their marketing ideas, their theme, their tone, all that kind of stuff. So for this client that I worked with, they had red, black, and white as their logo colors. So I wanted to incorporate that into the tour. We can fine tune all that stuff later on, but just to kind of get started, anytime I do anything like this, I always want to try to get a baseline for all of that into the interactive. So I'm going to start off here. I like headers on each slide to let the user know what they're doing, what this page is about. So I'm going to draw a rectangle at the top. I'm just going to pick this preset color red for now, just to get it going. And I am going to have photos on this page. So I'm actually going to go to shape again and get a rectangle. And I don't want just a white background. I kind of feel like that's, very simple. It's like a PowerPoint or a Google slide. So for now, I'm just going to put kind of like a grayish background, just something where the photos will kind of pop. It's not just an infinite white void, if you will. So now, kind of like any video editing software or maybe Photoshop, if you're familiar, we're working with layers. Things are stacked on top of each other. So if you notice here on the timeline at the bottom, our header is going to be rectangle 1. The gray box is going to be rectangle 2. I like to label these just so I know what they are as I'm making them. So if I have to go back and figure out why something might be, oh, it's in the background more than the foreground, or hey, it got moved under something, what happened? I can see what these are. So I'm actually going to take rectangle 1, and I'm just going to name it red header. And then I'll take rectangle 2. And that's the gray box for the body. Name it that, just so I know what it is later on. I never need to touch these again, actually. So I'm actually going to lock these. And then that way, I don't click these accidentally and move them, off the slide or move them in front of something, behind something. I don't want to mess the order of things up here on the slide. So these are locked. They are safe and sound now. Next thing, let's make some text for the header. I'm going to go to Insert and go to Text Box. And I'm just going to draw a square for now. This particular client was doing home repair education. So we did something about water heaters for them. So I'm going to put water heater photo slideshow. And obviously, if you work in any kind of Word document editor like OpenOffice, Google Docs, Microsoft Word, anything like that, all these controls are very self-explanatory. I'm going to make this bold. I'm going to blow it up a little, and I'm going to center it. If you're working with a client that likes a very specific font, work with them, communicate with them, get that font installed on your computer so that you can find it under the presets here. Just for demonstration here, I'm just going to leave it what it is. As you're moving things around, you'll notice that you'll get these pink grid lines that pop up on screen. These help you center or line up your elements of the slide in a particular spot. I'm actually going to use those to make this text box center on the header. So there's my horizontal, and there's the vertical. And now, assuming the computer is not wrong, that is dead center, both vertically and horizontally there on the slide. I'm going to keep that text box 1. Actually, no, we'll make that header text. There we go. And I never need to touch that again, so I'm going to lock it also so I don't accidentally move it or anything. Now, this is going to be a photo slideshow. How about we get a photo on the slide? So if we go to Insert and we go to Picture, we're going to go to Picture from File. Anytime I do a project, a creative endeavor for somebody, whether it's video editing, photo editing, articulate projects, things like that, I always try to make folders on my computer, keep things organized. For this situation, I have a folder called Articulate Demo, so I'm keeping everything that I'm going to use in this demonstration here. For you, maybe you want to do a photo folder for X client, videos for Y client, whomever. Just keep it all nice and organized so you can find it when you're trying to incorporate it into a program like this. I'm going to start off, I want everybody to see the water heater first. So I'm going to insert that. Now, obviously, that's a little too big for the slide, and it's the wrong orientation. So I'm going to go over to Rotate, and we're going to do Rotate Left 90 degrees. And all right, now it actually looks normal. We'll just drag these corners. We'll get it resized. Don't want it to completely fill the gray, but we'll get it pretty close. And then once again, once you start dragging with your mouse, you'll notice those pink grid lines start popping up. I've got that, buddy, dead center. So look at that. There we go. Now, the next trick, we need to decide what we want our buttons to look like and where we want them to be. Obviously, not all my photos are going to be vertical, so we don't want to put the buttons right here to the left and right of this. We want to put them out here because some of the photos are going to be the opposite orientation. Are going to be more horizontal based. So we're going to go to Insert, and there's two ways we can do buttons. We could actually get shapes. I could go get a circle like this, and you could click and drag, or you could hold Shift and it'll make it a perfect circle. And you could have a circle there, or we could, you could go crazy. We could do a triangle if you wanted as your button. Or you could go the easy route. Articulate actually kind of has built-in button support. If you go to button here, you could do a rectangle, kind of like a curved rectangle, or you could do kind of like a racetrack. Looks like Indianapolis here. I'm going to go Indianapolis, and you can drag that. I like it to be a little squarish, so I'm going to put it like there. And I know, like I said, some of the photos are going to reach out further because they're not going to be completely vertical. So I'm going to put that one there. And if you want to Control-C and Control-V, we could copy that so it's exactly identical. And then we could drag it to the opposite side of the screen. And those pink grid lines will show up. And that's about dead even, it looks like. So we'll go with that. I'm going to click this left button. What I plan on this button being is go to the previous photo. So these photos are going to pop up in order. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 as you click the buttons. This is the first photo. This will be photo 1. So if I click previous, it'll go to photo 5. If I click the right button, it's going to go to photo 2. So since this is previous, I'm going to go to Format, and I'm going to go get this left arrow. And then obviously here, the advantage of doing like the built-in button thing they've got, you could go to presets. You could change these. I could go to this like gradient blue. You could go to red. You could go to green. I'm going to go to that gradient blue right there. And I'm going to do the same thing here. I'm going to go get a right arrow. And then I'll go down here to this preset. And there we go. Look at that. Now, next thing we're going to do. We are going to name this layer. So this whole thing that you're seeing here, the buttons, the photo, everything, we're going to name this a layer because what we're going to do with these buttons is actually tell Articulate to go to a new layer whenever we click them. If we click the next arrow, it's going to go to layer 2 to show the second image. If we click this button to go to previous, it's going to go to layer 5 to show the last image in the images that we have. But we want everything to be identical as much as possible. So if we click Duplicate Layer, and as you can see now, you can't tell the difference until I do this. We're going to name this Layer 2, and we're going to right-click this picture, and we're going to say Picture from File again. And I'm going to do the Control Panel this time. I feel like you've seen the unit now. If you're learning about these systems, you should see the controls next. It's the wrong orientation, so we're going to do Rotate Right. There it goes. Takes a little second. And see, we made the buttons go a little further to the left and right side of the page. That gives us room to play around with this image, make it bigger. I'm going to look for my pink grid lines. If that vertical one wants to show up, there it is. So we've got it dead even. And then now if you go to Layer 1, it looks like this, and now Layer 2 will be this. We're going to do the same thing. We're going to duplicate Layer 2, We're going to name it layer 3 now. And we're going to right click this picture, do replace from file, and we'll go get a different image. Now, because we're going to be sticking with horizontally oriented photos, we shouldn't have to worry about rotating or resizing or anything. They're actually going to match the dimensions and location of that previous photo. So look, it goes from the controls to, this is called a pressure relief valve if you're not familiar with a water heater. We're going to duplicate it again. We'll go layer 4. I'm going to go to, let's do the tank drain next. We'll do layer 5. We'll replace that. We'll do cold water inlet. And finally, it looks like we actually have 6 layers. Layer 6. We will do the hot water. And just kind of skimming through these. Nothing really changed except the photos. And we saved you some time. You didn't have to keep creating these buttons from scratch. You didn't have to remake the header. You didn't have to remake the background. By duplicating these layers, all you had to change was the photo. So now, the next thing we want to do, we actually want to tell these buttons to do something. So I'm going to click this right button here that says Next. And we're going to go over to Triggers. And we're going to say Create a new trigger. And what we want to do is say Show Layer. And since this is layer 1, I want it to go to layer 2. So we're going to say go to layer 2. And really quick, before we proceed any further, there are default triggers that are on slides when you make them. They kind of treat it like a PowerPoint. If you click a PowerPoint, it goes to the next slide. This is usually what these 2 triggers are. I'm actually going to disable these just on the off chance, you know, the user clicks somewhere and it breaks the whole thing. So, but ideally, if you were making a very linear articulate project, these would be the default triggers to just say, oh, go to the next slide, just like PowerPoint, just like Google Slides, things like that. But whenever I do these interactives, I want the user to have full control and not accidentally do something. I'm going to have buttons. I'm going to have navigation. I don't need these guys, so I'm going to disable those. But anyway, now we're still on layer 1. This button will go to layer 2. Let's do the same thing for previous. I'm going to click this, and we're going to do new trigger. And since this is going to go to the last photo, we're going to say Show Layer, layer 6. Now we're going to go to layer 2. And if we want to go to the previous, we are going to click this. We're going to do Trigger. And we are going to say Hide Layer. Now the reason we want to say Hide, layer 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 are on top of layer 1. If layer 2 is on top of layer 1, you can't show layer 1. Layer 1's technically there already, if that makes sense. It's just underneath. So what you want to tell that button to do is actually say, hey, hide layer 2 so there's nothing on top of layer 1. So that's going to be important here because we got to do the same thing on layer 6. But just for here, we're going to say hide layer, this layer, layer 2. And then we'll go to Next, and we're going to do New Trigger, and we will say Show Layer, layer 3. And everything's pretty straightforward till layer 6. So we're on layer 3 now. We're going to say Trigger, Show Layer, layer 2, because it'll go back to layer 2. This one will go to layer 4, Show Layer, layer 4. Now we're on 4. We will show layer 3, because we're going to go back to 3 if we click that. We'll click this. And we're going to show layer 5, because we're going to the next layer. Once again, now we're on 5. We'll show layer 4. If we want to go back to 4, this button will go to layer 6, because 6 is the next one. There we go. And then finally, we'll do the opposite of layer 2. If we go previous, this will show layer 5, because it's before layer 6. But if we go next, we want it to go back to layer 1. We're going to say hide layer, this layer. That way, anything that's on top of layer 1 will now disappear, and you will only see layer 1. So, just to recap that really quick, layer 1 will show layer 6 if we click here. It'll show layer 2 here. Layer 2, if we wanted to go back to the first picture, we need to tell it to hide layer 2 or anything else on top of layer 1. That's why it says hide. But then everything else is pretty straightforward. Show the next layer. show the next layer, show the previous, show the next, show the previous, show the next, show the previous. Layer 6, if you click next, hide everything on top of layer 1, or go back to layer 5. So we're going to save. Please get in the habit of saving. File, save, Control S, whatever you want to do. And let's do a preview here. We're going to go to preview, entire project. It'll load up all the slides and everything here. All right, so right here is layer 1. I'm going to click next. There's the second image. Third, fourth, fifth, sixth. And now what this button will say is, hey, hide all those other layers, including layer 6. Go back to layer 1. And then same thing here. If we go backwards, it'll proceed backwards, just like that. So pretty simple. The only other thing you could do here, if you want to get creative, and like I said, if you want to add additional information for your learners and everything, you could go customize these now. You could go to text box or caption box and add little blurbs. I'm actually going to get this to spin the other way. There we go. You know, you could add individual things like controls are great for controlling your energy usage. You know, you could say be cautious around a pressure relief valve. Whatever the project you're working on, whatever you feel is appropriate, this is where you could go in here and, you know, make things even better. Now, one last thing I'm going to show you. I'm not going to do it for every single layer, but just want to make it a feature if you want to do this. I'm going to go back to layer 1, and I'm going to click new layer, and I want to drag it after layer 1. It doesn't matter. These buttons are going to tell articulate which layers to go to, so you could reorder these. It doesn't matter. I'm going to name this big layer 1. And why I want to do that, I'm going to insert that picture again of the water heater. And let's rotate it left 90 degrees so it fits there. There we go. And I'm going to make it center as much as possible here. I actually think I'm coming off the slide a little. So let's take it back a second. There it goes. And then we'll drag it till it's center. There we go. And let's draw... Where's shape at it? There we go. I'm going to put that gray wallpaper again on the whole slide. Come down here to your timeline where I'm at with my mouse. Let's drag that blue rectangle behind the picture. And then now we can make that blue rectangle. We'll make it gray like the other guys. I'm going to name this big because what I actually want to do, if you ever want to make the photo pop, you want to make it pop out and be a little bigger, let's click this photo. And we're going to do the same exact thing by making a new trigger. And we're going to do show layer. I'm going to do big layer 1. And what it'll do is if you click this picture, it will show the user this. And then what I could do is click this picture, do trigger, and I could say hide layer this layer. So it'll go back to the previous slide. Let's save. And let's see how that looks really quick. And like I said, I won't do it for every single photo, but just wanted to give you another idea for your photo slideshows. If it would help the user out and seeing things like that. Look at that. Boom, boom. Makes it a little bigger. Obviously, for a vertical image like that, it's a little awkward. It doesn't get that much bigger. But I could definitely see that being beneficial for, you know, more of your 16:9 widescreen horizontal-based images. So, and look at that. Like I said, you could customize each of these pages now. You could add little caption boxes, things like that, to your heart's delight. So, there you go.